My name is Clara Vance. I am 33 years old, and for the last 4 years, I have wired exactly $2,500 to my parents' bank account on the first of every single month. That is $120,000 in total. I am a licensed structural engineer. I know how to calculate numbers down to the very last decimal point, and I know exactly what that kind of money can buy. Yet, on my wedding day, the only time in my 33 years on this earth that I explicitly asked my parents to show up for me, neither of them came. I stood on the asphalt of a country venue parking lot, smoothing down the satin of my bridal gown, dialing my mother's number. She answered on the 5th attempt. The 4 words she spoke into the receiver, delivered in a cold, hurried whisper, effectively ended our relationship forever. But what happened 30 minutes later, when my father logged into his banking application to pay for my younger brother's catered reception and realized what I had done, was when his carefully constructed world completely shattered. That was the moment he truly lost his mind. To understand why a father would scream at his daughter in her wedding dress over a banking notification, you have to understand the rules of the Vance household. I grew up in Richmond, Virginia, in a manicured subdivision where image was everything, and money was never discussed unless it belonged to someone else. There were 2 of us, me and my younger brother Oliver, separated by 5 years. Same house, same parents, but 2 completely separate universes. I was the responsible one, the straight-A student who earned a full academic scholarship to study engineering. From the day I turned 18, I never asked my parents for a single dollar. Not for tuition, not for my cramped apartment rent, not for groceries. I worked 3 different jobs while maintaining my course load, drafting blueprints at night, stocking inventory at a warehouse, and tutoring underclassmen. Nobody forced me to do it. I simply internalized the unspoken expectation that I was built to handle the weight. Oliver was different. Oliver dropped out of 2 different community colleges because they restricted his creative freedom. Our parents willingly paid $10,000 for a year-long photography and self-discovery seminar. When he married Chloe at 23, an aspiring social media influencer, our parents financed the entire wedding and even provided the down payment for their leased luxury SUV. When I finally questioned why Oliver received a financial cushion while I received nothing, my mother, Patrice, gave me a look of profound bewilderment. She told me that Oliver was artistic and sensitive, that he needed them more, and that because I was the strong one, I would always find a way to survive on my own. My father, Richard, merely nodded from his armchair. He always nodded when Patrice spoke. The dynamic shifted from emotional neglect to financial manipulation in May of 2022. The logistics firm where my father had worked for 25 years downsized, eliminating his entire management department. He was 56 years old with a specialized resume, no college degree, and a retirement account that could barely sustain them for a year. I was 29, working my first major associate position at an engineering firm, earning $75,000 a year before taxes. After deductions, student loan payments, and basic living expenses, my take-home pay was roughly $4,400 a month. My mother called me on a Tuesday afternoon, her voice trembling with frantic tears, claiming they were going to lose the house because they couldn't afford the mortgage. She described my father as completely incapacitated by depression, unable to leave his bed. Sitting in the office break room, I did the math on a scratch pad. Sending them $2,500 a month would leave me with $1,900 for rent, gas, utilities, and food. It was an incredibly tight margin, but it was mathematically possible. That night, I established an automatic monthly transfer from my checking account to the Vance joint savings account. For the next 4 years, that temporary arrangement became a permanent reality. I lived in a 400-square-foot studio apartment with a mattress on the floor, subsisting on canned soup and discounted groceries, while working 70 hours a week. Yet whenever I visited Richmond, their reality looked entirely different. The house boasted a newly constructed cedar deck, a premium climate control system, and high-end kitchen appliances. My mother guided me through the renovations as if she were hosting a television special, casually waving her hand when I asked about the cost. Nobody asked how my career was going, nobody asked if I was sleeping, and nobody ever said thank you. When Oliver and Chloe pulled into the driveway in a brand new car, my mother beamed with pride, quickly changing the subject to their upcoming vacation when I asked who paid for it. The breaking point arrived in early 2026 when the bank required updated signature cards for the joint account, forcing me to log in and review the transaction history for the first time in years. The balance should have contained a substantial cushion, but the screen displayed a mere $112. I spent the next hour cross-referencing every withdrawal. The data was undeniable. 46% of every dollar I had sent went directly to Oliver and his wife to fund their rent, credit card debts, and lifestyle. 29% went toward my parents' vacations, salon visits, and luxury shopping. Only 25% had touched the actual mortgage. My mother had engineered a system of artificial panic, texting me distress signals about losing their home whenever Oliver needed cash, knowing I would reliably fund the illusion. I quietly canceled the automatic transfer that very night. By this time, I was engaged to Thomas, a master craftsman who owned a small custom furniture business. He was steady, independent, and loved me without conditions. When I introduced him to my family, my mother openly condescended to his profession, lamenting that a doctor's daughter was marrying a carpenter while Oliver had married an art director. Later evening, I overheard my father whispering to her in the hallway, stating that it didn't matter who I married as long as my checks continued to arrive on time. They viewed me as a utility bill, a financial subscription with a monthly billing cycle. When Thomas and I planned our modest 60-guest wedding for October, my parents completely disengaged. My mother claimed October was impossible because Oliver was hosting a major gallery showcase that same month and required her full attention. Oliver deliberately scheduled his event for October 17th, my wedding day, knowing our parents would choose him. When I confronted him, he casually remarked that his baby was more important and that I should have picked a different date. On the afternoon of October 17th, surrounded by Thomas's supportive family and my grandmother, I stood in the bridal suite looking at a blank phone. At 1:30 p.m., 30 minutes before the ceremony, I called my mother one last time. When she finally answered, the background was filled with the clinking glasses and laughter of Oliver's party. I asked if they were coming to the ceremony, even just for an hour. My mother sighed into the phone and said, "He needs us, Clara." Those 4 words severed the final tie. 30 minutes later, my phone began ringing incessantly. It was my father. I answered on speakerphone, and his voice exploded through the quiet room, trembling with absolute fury. He was at Oliver's venue, trying to pay the caterers $2,500, only to find the transaction declined because the joint account was empty. He screamed that I was ruining his son's night, demanding that I fix the bank error immediately because I owed them everything. I looked at Thomas, took a deep breath, and told my father that my subscription to their love had expired, and that they could fund Oliver themselves. I hung up, blocked their numbers, and walked down the aisle toward a family that actually chose to stand by me.